How you guys doing? Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Paul Trani, and I want to go through pro tips in Photoshop and Illustrator. Just let me know if you guys have any problems hearing me. Just tell me if you can't hear me. Just kidding, that's a joke. But I have music playing in the background, just keeping it chill, you know. Just going over pro tips, things you should be doing as a professional or just somebody who doesn't like to redo work. So that's the goal. Let's jump into this and yeah, let's do it. And really what I want to know, guys, I'm watching the chat as well, and I want to know sort of your favorite pro tip or what you guys use a lot, you know, whether it's a certain shortcut or tool or whatever the case may be. So Baku, Arlex, good to see you here. Rise, good to see you here. Natalia as well. Francisco, thanks for the thumbs up. So let's just shift gears because I actually have good old Photoshop open right now. So I'll just switch screens as it just does a nice little fade. Oh yes, and then we have our spa to the left. Okay, cool, got it. Okay. Anyways, so let's dive into this, guys, as we have our spa music going on. I'm interested in your favorite pro tip, but really, guys, one thing you learn how to do is deal with shortcuts, right? And this seems really basic, but you need to be doing this stuff because in general it's going to speed up your life and it's going to buy you time, right? So I'm kind of curious as to what your favorite shortcuts are, Kathy and Nathan. Here's just a little FYI. If I go full screen on this puppy, basically, if you you know, just save a couple seconds every minute that you work in, say, Photoshop or Illustrator or any app, that starts to add up. So 2 wasted seconds a minute, right, equals 480 minutes, totals into 8 days that we could save just by using shortcuts. And that's why it's a big deal. So, yeah, Alan, I guess I am here everywhere. So yeah, in general, that's why I like shortcuts, is it speeds up your workflow and it saves me time. So it gives me 1 vacation week if I just understand shortcuts. So that's what I'm going to dive right in. In fact, if I hit F, I was going full screen. That's what I was doing here. So I can jump into, you know, this design I'm working on, right? And do you guys know this? But like anytime you want to adjust the opacity of a layer, you could just hit, say, 7, and that will give you 70%, okay, or 3, and that will give you 30%, or 33 if you want to do that. Cool? As we go into the funky music. Change it up. All right. So that's what I typically do, is like, you know, or if you hit 75%, that's what it's going to give you. That's how you adjust the opacity. Or you could scrub on any sort of label next to numbers, and then it will adjust it accordingly. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. So yeah, that's my favorite shortcut, guys, right here is this one. This is what my favorite one is burning through the layer modes, because I use layer modes a lot. So if I have this layer, this do good layer selected, I can hold down the shift key and hit plus and minus. And let me just move this up. Let's move this up. So this is just a little shortcut thing that'll pop up like right next to my head, by the way. So I'll hit shift key, right, holding down shift plus, and then I'm cycling through, or minus. Hold on, let me make sure I have that layer selected. So now I'm shuffling through these, and this enables me to tell that, okay, if I select this lighten or screen, these are like my 2 favorite ones, okay? Or I like overlay, so I can hit Shift O, and that will give me that overlay mode. Or actually Shift Option O will give me that particular mode. So, and again, it just saves the time of clicking over in here, because that's too much work, and it takes my eye away from just looking at these different designs as I'm checking them out. So let me just open this up. I'm gotta make sure I can see your chat too, guys. Okay. So yeah. One thing you're going to run into, though, guys, this is what's going to happen when you're dealing with cycling through the different layer modes, is if you have a brush selected, it's going to default to the brush mode and not the layer mode. So I usually just make sure I have, say, the move tool. So if I hit V, I'll have the move tool selected, and then I can do plus, minus, and kind of toggle through all these. I like that one. That's the one I'm going to go with. Okay, brush size and hardness using the brackets. Perfect, Nathan. You know exactly what's going on. Okay, so I'll just duplicate this layer since you just mentioned that. Brush right here. So obviously I could select the brush. I'll do you one better because I'm using the brackets to make it larger and smaller, and I should be able to use make it harder or softer by holding down the Shift key. Let me do this. Oops. With the brush tool, I know this. If you do a Control and Option and then click and drag, did you know this, Nathan? If I click and, so I'm holding down the Control key and the Option key, and I'm dragging to the left or right to increase the diameter, the size, and then if I slide it up and down, that's going to show me the hardness of this, okay? So I can make it kind of softer and then smaller. That's kind of upper and to the left, okay? And this goes for everything, because in this case, if I wanted to sharpen this up, this image, that's what I can do, is hold down those two keys. I get a representation of what it's going to look like, and then I can sort of sharpen the face there. Holy Command Z! Holy Command Z! Command Z is my favorite. Yeah, so speaking of speaking of Command Z, you guys are hopefully doing Option Command Z will allow you to undo multiple times. Okay, so that's toggling back through your history here when you do Command Option Z. I'm going back up through the history. You get the idea. Cool. Simple stuff, right? Oh, yeah. So, Alan, if you have the select tool, if you hold down Alt, you'll make a copy of that selection. And that's another good one. Exactly right. I do that a lot. So, say, for instance, if I decide to have a, you know, I'll hold down the Command key. If I click on a layer, it will select all the components of that layer. But like you're saying, you can do, I'm actually going to do that. Alt drag with the move tool. There, and I've just like duplicated that. Actually, can I? Yeah. And I probably wouldn't want to do that in this particular case. I'd want to copy the layer. So let's talk about these, like, let me show you the next coolest thing. Yeah, Option Command Z again. That's a thing, Nathan, because Option Command Z will give you the multiple undos. Okay, so. Bracket shortcuts are on a laptop, by the way. They're just under the delete key, a little bit to the left. Okay. Let me show you something else too, because like check this out. Like oftentimes you'll have these dialogues, and I'll just kind of move this up because I don't think you can really see my screen too well. And let me hide all this. Oh, what's that? Look at all these files. But I'm just going to press right here. I'm going to press this, you know, I want to delete this layer. I'll click this delete layer button, and I'll get this dialogue. Basically, these dialogues that pop up, and you're like, ah, go away, right? You just want to be like, yes, go away altogether. Well, if I hold down the Alt key and I click on it, it overrides those dialogues. So the Option key / Alt key is your best friend because it's going to override any dialogue that you might have. Here's another one, guys. This is probably what you guys do. Yes. Option Command Z is all I do too. That's funny. You just get used to it. But in general, let's do a couple things here. What do I want to do? Let's just say for this layer, I'm just going to do a layer, new adjustment layer. Well, yeah, let's do a new adjustment layer. Let's just do like What should we do? Levels. Why not? I don't know. I'm gonna think of something like really drastic. Hue and saturation. Here we go. Hue and saturation on this layer. Actually, let's do this. Let me undo this. Image adjustment, because this is what you guys would do, or what you do back in the day. Anytime you get a pop-up dialog, okay, you'll start to adjust this stuff. You'll be like, okay, I'm going to change this, and now it looks like it's some sort of nuclear fallout, right? You're like, yeah, I can kind of control it. I can click here and adjust that stuff. But I'm like, I don't like that. So what do? Rather than trying to reset it back to normal, you'd hit cancel, and then you'd go back in. But if I hold down the Alt key, look, if I hold down the Alt key in any dialog, it's going to change the cancel button to a reset button. Okay, so there's no need to exit out and go back in, because I know you guys do that. I could just hit reset, and it resets it back to normal, and then I can use maybe this little picker to kind of define that medium tone and adjust the saturation of that one part, just like that. Ooh, Natalia, great question. A shortcut to select the last tool used. That is a good question. I'm going to find out for you. And I'm checking the chat. Okay, good. Oh, I'll show you one even better, actually, even though that might not be the case, by the way, for selecting the last. I don't think there is one. You can use Command and Control keys to temporarily use the selection tools, by the way. Let me show you what I mean there. You know, I think this is nice, but this is what I'm getting at right here is there might not be the case where you can, you know, go with the last tool used, but you can actually jump in and edit the toolbar, okay? And when I edit this toolbar, I can also define, not only can I customize it, because quite frankly, what do I not use? I don't use the history brush tools or the art history brush tools. I can move those over here. So see how they disappear from the side? I can start to customize this. But not only that, I can start to add. So if I wanted to, for some reason, you know, add a, you know, single row selection. So I would just say Command Option Shift R, something like that. Or actually W. There we go. I can add shortcuts in here. So that's what you do, but I like being able to see Customize Toolbar gives me all of those shortcuts right in here. Single letter shortcuts, easy to go through. And if I hit J a couple of times, it'll start cycling through all of these, okay? But what I like to do, guys, to mess with people is, let me get back over. If you really wanted to mess with somebody that maybe doesn't know that, if you have access to their Photoshop, just move those tools over, and then it will disappear, and then they'll be like, what happened to my tools? I'll be like, hey, I don't know. Are you up to date on your Creative Cloud membership? That's one way to be a jerk. Anyway. So yes, hide, add, remove, done and done, just like that. Here's one that I do. Do you guys do this? Here's a, so yeah, the history and art history brushes for, if you're doing painting, Alan, or any sort of art, that's what you'd use them for. It kind of paints into the previous version of that photo in a art history style that you select, okay? So, yeah. There are a couple tools, Sabo, you mentioned that. There's like actually a couple tools that are not, there's a couple tools that don't have shortcut keys. Or excuse me, there's a couple letters that are available, is what I was going to say. Obviously, the row needs a key, but K and End are two keys, two desktop keys that don't have a shortcut associated with them. Okay, so they don't do anything, K or N. So what you could do is you could actually define those. I can say, hey, you know what? Let's add those as keyboard shortcuts, and you can go in and adjust those and add those. This is what I do, guys. Think about what you do a lot. What do you guys do a lot? This is what I do a lot. I consolidate. I have lots of images open, And I like to see all of them at once, like tiled, and then I want to consolidate all to tabs. So those are two shortcuts that I've defined. So again, R, there's my T, there's my R, and I can just kind of quick jump out, see which photos I want to access, and then select it, and then jump back into that one, for instance, and start to work on it. All right. Anyways, shortcuts, you guys get it. Just figure out what you do on a regular basis, do the shortcut for that, and you can add 8 days to your life, which is awesome. So, yeah, Office Pranks 101. Good times. So, shortcut keys, huge. In fact, let's go back to my little cheat sheet. You know, our shortcut keys, of course, huge. And I can go into the Illustrator ones, but I kind of want to move on now. You know, I don't know if you guys are using CC Library. Oh, yeah, here we go. I don't know if you're using CC libraries, but I know I do, and it's changed the way I work just because it's enabled me to, you know, basically have access to all of my content at any given time right here. Okay. So if you're not using CC libraries, you should be. Obviously, you can see all these assets that I'm working on for the Day of the Dead. You can see all these assets, right? Pretty cool. These are some that I've made. So, you know, I've made this. I have this flower that I can drop into this design if I want to. There it is. And I can start to, you know, add that to my layout as you'd expect, right? So that's easy enough. That flower also is going to be available in, of course, Illustrator. So here I'm in Illustrator, kind of working on this piece right here. And from here, that asset is still available to me, as you can see. Stretching this out, going to Day of the Dead, you'll see it there. We're constantly updating this. I was just in an internal meeting earlier, and we were talking about even more that's coming to this panel. So I think this whole panel gets lots of love. Okay, but again, you can use this asset, drop it in there, and then start to use this in Illustrator, and it will change. But the cool thing is this is going to be in Illustrator, and I can do whatever I want with it, maybe convert it to a brush. But I did this last week, guys, so I don't want to show you this again. But in general, I can make a brush out of this library asset that came from Photoshop, and now I have access to use that in, you know, Illustrator, like I'm doing right now. Let's give her some lovely flowery hair. Why not? All right, what else you guys got? Yeah, CC libraries are the greatest invention that Adobe has ever made, I reckon. Okay, I personally think it's the most valuable panel next to the layers panel. Yeah, so Sabo, I'm kind of interested in, like, if you've ran into any issues with the CC libraries panel. Because you know, I work alone, and I use this all the time because it's just an easy place to store things. I personally think what it kind of needs is maybe more organization, or allow me to control what's where, because I have this hodgepodge of various assets, and we are working on that. There's an update coming soon, okay? And if I wanted to search, even if I can't find it, I can jump in here and say, you know, flowers. Here's all my flowers and all my libraries. So it doesn't matter where I put them. Right? What if I want to go beyond that and I want to search Adobe Stock for skulls? Right? Searching on vector content. Boom. Look at that. So sweet. I don't know. It's very 2010 of me to be searching on skulls. Remember when skulls were cool? But nonetheless, I have access to that Adobe Stock. Skull icons in, oh yeah, by the way, I don't even have to use this library panel, by the way. Right up here in the upper right, I can search on, you know, skull hands. As I hit enter, it actually popped up on my other screen, but if we move it over, you'll see it right here. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of a neat. That's kind of an interesting design, don't you think? So, Once I find something I like, if I want to go with any one of these, I not only need to save it to miscellaneous, I can open it up directly in Illustrator, just like that. So this connection with Adobe Stock and these various assets is just, you know, huge and hugely helpful. Sweet, guys. Boom, there it is in my downloads, and there it is as well, opened in Illustrator. Yeah, you can drag colors to it. Sarkison, you can drag colors to it as well. So if I'm working on this, and I happen to be working on this, we have this quick, wait for it. Here's some text, by the way. This text is going to be like whatever certain color that I end up defining, because I'm like, okay, well, I want this to be pink or sort of this purple color, right, that I might be using in Illustrator. If I open up my Creative Cloud Libraries panel, and I'm still working in the Day of the Dead, so right down here at the bottom, if you could see that, I can save that color. So add text fill color. But if it's a shape, whatever's in this color swatch, it'll get saved right there. Okay, so if I, and it's not linked, by the way, so if I change it to something else, it's obviously going to change it, but I can start to build that library of colors and text, by the way. I'm getting a little off track, but I really like the Lust Script Pro or display. Happens to be a typekit font. I'm typing that in. Let's fix this. Ophelia, right? So I'm going to use this text, and I can save that to my library as well. So now we have this, and this will be my title text, and I can use that anywhere I want. So we have that there. We can come over here. Oh, rock and roll. Got some rock and roll playing, don't I? Whew, that was a close one. All right, so here I am. Whatever layout I'm working in, doesn't matter. I'll have that available to me. Let's turn that off. So again, here's my text. I want to use that same character style. It's going to do the obvious. Click. You can see I've added it right there. Yes, it needs work. I know it needs work. Anyway. Yeah, the thing is if I drag it, Esker skin, if I drag it, it's going to actually put it in as a symbol. So it doesn't know what you want, and that's why you have this down here at the bottom. It says, hey, since I don't know what you want, you tell us whether you want the color, the character style, or the actual object. That's what this is all about. Just say, it says, hey, you know what? Help me out. How can I, you know, figure out which one you want me to use, sort of thing. All right. Okay, I can move beyond this, guys. CC Libraries, you get it. Everything's up to date. Everything will change if I decide to update any one of these pieces. It's going to update across all of my layouts. This gets to be huge. I can go on and on about it, but I think you guys get the point. Everything's linked. Everything's ready to go. And I can collaborate with others. Okay, so I can collaborate and say, hey, you know what? I want to give somebody else access to it. They're going to have access to these assets. And you know what? Maybe this is a new thing, but giving them, say, for instance, John at Adobe, I have no idea who John is at Adobe. He only has the ability to view my content, right? So he can have access to it. He can view it. Here's some stuff you can just view because I don't trust you. You wouldn't really send that. I just sent that to John at Adobe, and chances are that could be John Warnock for all I know, and I certainly hope it isn't, because that's not good. He's one of the founders of Adobe. Yeah. Man. All right. Let me scroll up. Let's get into some of this other stuff, guys. Too much to... Sabo Cat. The tilde key. I'm interested in, since I want to hear about your pro tips, guys. The tilde key plus a shape. Ah, I have no idea that worked. So Sabocat, I don't know if this is your intention, but if you hold down the tilde key, it will duplicate as you drag. Or let me just, cancel. Let's just see what happens. Is this what you're trying to do? I'm holding down the tilde key, and then I click and drag, and it made 50 different versions of, or different rectangles as I drag them out. Hey, Nathan Simpson, congratulations. Used Creative Cloud libraries for first time for a university assignment, which is awesome. Okay, very cool. Yeah, let's move on. I have more to show. We're 30 minutes in, and this is... I don't want to burn through this stuff. Shortcuts, CC libraries, Camera Raw. So many people don't use Camera Raw, by the way, okay? And I think, quite frankly, we should. You know, Camera Raw. So essentially, I'm going to grab a cool photo from... Really like... I may or may not be in love with this woman, right? So here's this photo, right? It actually doesn't need much of anything, but chances are what people do is you start adding multiple adjustment layers. So you'll add brightness and contrast, right? So you'll add that layer, and then you'll adjust the brightness and the contrast. And then you'll add another layer of, you know, hue and saturation, okay? And all these adjustment layers, you start tweaking this. Maybe we'll give her like a little warmer tone and increase the saturation, whatever the case may be. And you could use vibrance for that. I get it. Right, and I only want it to affect that layer, so you end up doing a clipping mask, right? So clipping mask, you end up with all these various layer modes, adjustment layers, and you kind of don't need to do that, because I'm going to just show you one better. Thing that people don't use a lot is Camera Raw. So filter, Camera Raw filter. First of all, this photo is already outstanding. Do this. Let's isolate this so it's a little easier to see on the screen for you guys. Like that. Okay. Okay, so Camera Raw filter, no need for multiple adjustment layers. In fact, I can go right over here, white balance, auto white balance this photo, right? Because it was too warm at the time, so it's adjusted the temperature and the tint a little bit. But here I have the ability to adjust the saturation, right? And the contrast, remember? That I was working on earlier. Maybe the exposure. I can adjust all that content from right in here. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Alan. Awesome. All right, so in general, Camera Raw, this gives you the ability to add like multiple adjustment layers. That's what this is. This is multiple adjustment layers. I love this. Guess what? We could do more. If she had red eyes, we could have that red eye removal. What about spot removal, right? So first of all, again, there's no need for any of that. But if there's a flyaway in here or something, I can use the spot removal tool, and it doesn't have to be circular. Like, watch. I'll just draw right there. It's a little bit of a hair, by the way. That's the flyaway. Look, I can't do this in Photoshop with the stamp tool. Like, I can't have this sort of control to define, oh, sample from here and put it there, you know? But I can here, and I can do this as much as I want, right? I can get silly and move that over there and do that, right? And click OK, okay? And what I can do, again, rubber stamp, if you have multiple layers of the same person, you're probably maybe doing something wrong, because you could use Camera Raw filter. Because now, again, I can go in here, I can take a look, I can say, hey, oh, look, oh, thank you. All those controls are still there. It's non-destructive. to the point of pushing around pixels, and that's why I love Camera Raw. Probably the least used feature in Photoshop. That's why I had to talk about it. Yeah, and then I did, Alan, just to answer your question, I answered that. I talked about that as well. Anytime you're doing some sort of line work, okay? So this goes for Illustrator. So now I'm in Illustrator, and I'm just using the pencil, right? So here's the pencil, which gets no love, right? You used it back 20 years ago and then decided to never use it again because it was almost too accurate. But if you double click on a lot of these tools in Illustrator, you can take it from accurate to smooth. So here's accurate. Watch, let me just increase the size. Oh, I want to kind of do a cool underline. Ah, that's horrible, right? And I can redraw over that line, right? Darn it, if you get it right, you got to like land on it. Should be able to. Yeah, you can sort of redraw over that line and it will change it. But you're like, I suck at drawing, right? And you just think that whole art career you had is wasted. But if you double click on pretty much any tool, you can change its options, and we can change this down to smooth. We can go, you know, and now that has that nice smooth look. I can use the width tool to jump in there, maybe make it look a little thicker, right? Let's adjust the caps of the stroke, nice and rounded. And this is what I want as a designer, you know. Just make me look good is what I'm trying to do. Make me look good when I'm designing. And that's what I think it does. And that goes also for color blends. Yeah, don't you, Camilo, don't you love Lust Script? I'm like, I probably use it way too much. Oh, let me show you something else, by the way. Yes, she is beautiful. Let's talk about Lust Script. We know we have glyphs in Illustrator. Say I'm doing the same thing over here, okay, and I'm doing it on part of this skull, right? And I apologize, it might be kind of hard to see. Maybe that's a little better. So I'm using that same font. This time, again, I'm in Photoshop, and I'm working on this text, and I might resize it and, you know, get something that I like. Dia de los Muertos. But I know Lust Script has more unique characters. In fact, let's see. If I'm going to select this D, look at all these alternates that I get for the D. So now you get these pop-up of these alternate letter forms I can use for the lowercase d. So right here for this one, boom. Oh, I love that curl kind of going off the side. What about the A? Oh, yeah. Like, yes, I love these alternates. You know, just making it look extra fancy. Why not? Cool, guys? Oh, that one's not going to work. That one's not going to work. But it pops up automatically, by the way. If you want to get technical about it, we can go into the Glyphs panel, which is new as of, I don't know, it's less than a year old. And this is how you used to have to do it, but this is essentially what's being pulled up. Anytime I select a letter, I can see the entire font or the alternates for selection. Okay? And I can select that T. Right? Is that text kind of hard to read? I feel like I need to select it. Select a... kind of hooked on the pink. Could need a little more work, but you get the idea. Nathan, there's no trick, by the way. Just as soon as you select the letter, you need to roll over. So selecting the E, just hover over that E, and then it will give you the pop-up, and then you can add that one. Okay, and you can always jump out to that Glyphs panel. Cool. Escar, I'm sorry, can't pronounce your name. But double clicking the pencil tool, again, I'm bouncing between Illustrator and Photoshop, but that's the case for a lot of these tools. As I just duplicate this, right? Command, Shift, Option, drag it down, shrinking it down, just to kind of show you real fast. Let's pick that same sample color, right? I always want to be sampling those same colors. But this goes for everything. So if I'm using, say, for instance, the blend tool, blending from this object to this object, right? It gives me this one step, okay? The blend tool will blend two objects together. This gives me that one step. But if I double click on the blend tool, I'm going to get that pop-up, just like we said, just like I talked about earlier. And I can say, hey, make this specified steps 10, for instance, And now we have that 10 sort of step increment, or even make it smooth color. I don't know why smooth color does not. But anyways, I can take that up to 50 if I wanted something even smoother. What do you guys think? 10? 8? And again, just the equivalent of clicking on that tool. Hey, it's Denmark in the house. I'm curious where you guys are from, by the way. I'm here in Denver, Colorado. Okay, Alan, you got it. You want gradients in Illustrator Draw. I still need to cover the Illustrator Draw on the mobile apps, and I will at some point. Australia in the house. Natalia, I love Mexico. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. I love it all. I'll show you a little preview, guys, of even just like another little quick pro tip, because I've really been into doing optical art, like optical illusion style art. Okay, and this is just kind of fun to do, but it's amazing what you can do like with the blend tool. So I'm going to copy, paste, shrink this down. If I hold down the Alt key when I shrink something down, this goes for Photoshop and Illustrator. Then let's just use that blend tool again. Bam, bam. And this is where I hypnotize you guys to say nice things about me, right? As starting to do some of this optical art like I'm doing right now. So I could still move this content around, right? Or I can round to these corners. So I'll just double click and then I'll round these corners, and there's sort of your optical illusion. And if I start to apply it with the transform, for instance, I can transform this around, rotate it 90 degrees or 40 degrees. Of course, it's a circle now. That's why it's not doing anything. Bad idea. You get... Oh, wait. Preview. Sorry, I didn't have preview turned on. But now we're making just some fun optical art this way. So anyway. Blend tool does lots of magic. Let's move on because I have a couple more things to talk about. I only have about 5 more minutes. Command D to do a transform again. Oh, great one. I love it. A very popular one. Alan, that's hilarious. You guys are funny. What else? This is looking pretty good. I like this. This is what I've had to do, though, guys. I do this a lot. Like, I have this version. I don't know if you guys are using Artboards, but I use Artboards just to kind of compare a couple different designs. So I'll take all this stuff, and I'm just going to group them into one. Artboard from layers. Artboard 1, there we have it. One Day of the Dead design, okay? I could duplicate this artboard. I could do it a couple different ways because I can click right on here. That's just going to give me a new artboard, right? And that's not what I want. I end up creating different versions. So if I hold down the Alt key and I click, it creates a copy of it. Now I can see one right next to the other, okay? And we all know that we can make these different sizes, but I found this helpful to just kind of compare these two designs. As I start making this, what if I want to go with a different color and brightness and stuff like that. There we go. We have 2 different versions just for fun. You get the idea. But that's why I use Artboards. Find it hugely helpful. I can export these out. We can get into exporting as well, and I'm just going to click back to my little cheat sheet. I've already talked about fonts, and what I meant by that is showing you the Glyphs panel, because I thought that was really helpful, at least for me. And then we'll get to my last one as soon as I answer a couple of these. Okay. Yeah, Andres, freezing the down menu for specified steps. Yeah, I wish it did a little bit better with the defaults. And you're talking back to when I was like, again, hypnotizing everyone. Essentially, you can also go down in here to blend, and here's your additional options for reversing the spine. You can control the way it curves, all sorts of things. I've actually just kind of like a quick shout out. This is not an Adobe thing, but I just got recently Vector Scribe, and I have this dynamic shapes panel. So I'll drag that in here. Actually, I don't even need to drag, I just need to click. But I can convert one shape into another shape. Did I select it? Let's select this outer one. Yeah, that's I gotta be able to, oop, whoa. So. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not doing it right now. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the blend tool options. I don't know how to change it to the Danish shortcuts. Obviously, you can customize the shortcuts, but it's not set to Danish. You've been able to do it with InDesign for years. Yeah, Mads. I don't know. I feel for you. I guess just make your voice be heard. You're doing the right thing. Ooh, yes. Sabo talks about appearance palette outlines with transforms on live type or objects. It sounds like that's a comment, but nonetheless, I use the appearance panel a lot, and also just to be able to tell what effects that I have applied to something. So as I select it, right, I can see that the opacity obviously is selected, but as I start to dive into this object, I can see if any effects were applied to it. So more on that later. Two more things, guys. Let me show you two more things really fast. I know somebody has to. Patrick's got to go to sleep. I get it. Got to crash out. I understand. Okay, so two things. Exporting assets, by the way. So I've created this cool, what I think is a cool logo, I guess, right? I have this logo. Dragging it into because I want to actually export it out, I can actually add it to this asset export panel that's brand new in Illustrator. So I can say, hey, this is our logo. All right, let me save this file to our desktop, which happens to be messy. And I could do this with everything. So if I have an entire user interface, I can drop in all the various icons that I use for an interface right in here, okay? And you know what I can do then is, let me just adjust this so you can see it a little better. So my head's not covering it. I can export out this file as a PNG file, or I can add, say, one that's twice the size, or I can even do an SVG. But imagine this being filled with a number of graphics, and then you just hitting export for everything that's selected. Hitting export, that's going to export out everything that you have in this asset export panel. All right, so that makes it really fast when you're creating stuff. Same thing for if you're doing anything else in Photoshop. As I start to take a look at this design, I have these two. I have two artboards, technically. I can export out these two artboards. I can even export out each one of these as like a design2.jpg and design1.jpg, right? But I can name those layers anything that I want, even for this Day of the Dead text right here. Let's make this Day of the Dead.png, and anything that's labeled with that last what do you call it, suffix, a file type at the end, basically. I can turn this on. So let's just kind of keep in mind where this is. This skulls happens to be on my desktop in this 5 tips. It should be in here somewhere. Right? So let's just save this to my desktop. It's called Skull. Sorry. And it is already on my desktop. And then I can just turn it on, generate image assets. And it's going to generate those image assets. This new folder, and you can see Day of the Dead ping. There's design 1, and there's design 2, right? Easy enough. All you have to do is name your layers. Yes, you have to name your layers, and that's how that works. So asset export, Shane, hopefully I answered your question. Asset export is in Illustrator, but the equivalent of it is in Photoshop just by naming the layers, which actually, in my opinion, is even easier. Because you can continue to work. You can say Day of the Dead alt.jpg. I could do a comma. I can do 50% day dot png. Right? And it's going to make one that's half the size. And all I did is added, see that? Let's try to zoom in on that. I've added .png right there. Okay, so that's all I need to do. It's even easier in Photoshop. It kicks out all those assets. We can see, you know, day. This is the alternate. That's the regular. And this is the one that's half its size, right? And all I did is said, hey, you know what? Make it 50%. So I think that's awesome. Yeah, document hygiene, Alan. I don't know. I'm torn on that because I'm like, hey, forget you guys. If I'm not working with anyone else, if I'm the only one that needs to understand my files, then deal with it. You know. So yeah. Venezuela's in the house, Fatima. Oh, thank you for coming. Yes, it's more than a good trick, I think. Camilo from Mexico. Love skydives. I'm winding down, guys, because I've been going for almost an hour. So, yeah. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you guys here soon. I know I've forgotten about things. I think one of the things that I always end up talking about is sort of dealing with 3D. And I use 3D a lot in my work. So this guy's face that I was working on, that's just a skull that I've 3D rotated. Just gives you that sort of flexibility. Same thing for this skull, was just flowers on top of a 3D skull. So anyway, you guys get the idea. Really appreciate you guys hanging out. Those are my top 5 things, so I'll just switch over to these top 5 as I open up this last one, which is all exporting out content. And if I could add more, it would be adding 3D and, of course, using content-aware technology. So, Alan, yes, I am presenting at Adobe Max. A lot of these like pro tips and about Adobe XD. Now, Adobe XD, if you're not aware of it, they just had a release. Within the past couple days? I don't know, either end of last week or early this week. So I'll be talking about Adobe XD. So anyways, trying to keep this short and sweet for you guys. I want to be respectful of your time. Ten Bear, Caesar, Alan, Sabo, Lenina, Levosky. Thank you so much, Giovanni. Appreciate it, guys. I'm going to be respectful of your time and let you go. Catch me online again. Just at Paul Trani is my Twitter handle, and this is recorded in case you catched this later. You can watch it from the beginning. So, Alan, I think my presentations will be streamed, but don't know 100% at max till I get there. Thanks, guys. You guys take care. Miss you already, and yeah, keep creating, guys.